Welcome to The Explainer. You know, we use words every day, but have you ever stopped to think about how they actually build worlds? Today, we're going to do just that. We're taking 6 really powerful words and weaving them into one single dramatic story. You'll see how just a few key terms can create conflict, build a character, and deliver a finale you won't see coming. Let's jump in. So let's start with a puzzle. How can two things that are total opposites, I'm talking a really bitter debate and an incredibly generous act, how can they possibly exist in the same story? Let's find out how all these pieces fit together. Every great story needs a little bit of conflict to get started, right? And ours is no different. So let's set the stage for what is a very bitter beginning. And the very first word that drops us right into the middle of all this tension is acrimonious. Acrimonious. It means something is just angry and bitter, you know? Like a really nasty argument. And in our story, the final round of a huge competition has just wrapped up. The debate was a totally acrimonious affair. You could literally feel the tension with every sharp word traded between the two finalists. So who are these two rivals anyway? Well, that question brings us to our next word, which adds this whole other fascinating layer to the scene. And that word is disparate. It means things are so fundamentally different, you can't even really compare them. And that describes our two finalists perfectly. They come from completely disparate backgrounds, which just makes their rivalry that much more interesting. So, on one side, you've got a seasoned politician, a total pro at calculated debate. And on the other, a quiet, brilliant artist. Someone whose genius comes from their vision, not their words. I mean, talk about disparate finalists going for the same prize. But let's take a closer look at this mysterious artist. Okay, let's shift our focus to this mysterious competitor. This artist who really seems to be a walking, talking contradiction. And if you want to understand this artist, you have to get a handle on their nature, which is summed up perfectly by this one word: capricious. Capricious. It means you're prone to these sudden, totally unpredictable changes. Just think about the weather. One minute it's bright and sunny, the next there's a thunderstorm. Well, that's our artist. Their strategy seems to change on a dime, keeping their opponent, and us for that matter, completely off balance. This unpredictable nature just adds to the mystery surrounding them. They are, in a single word, an enigma. An enigma is just that, a person who's a total puzzle. Mysterious, really difficult to understand. Our artist fits that description to a T. Their motives are so hard to read, which makes them fascinating and, honestly, a little frustrating to watch. And it wasn't just his rival who was confused. Even his own friends felt it. For them, the quiet and brilliant artist was a complete enigma. The people who knew him best couldn't really figure out what was going on in his head. You know, sometimes it's the smallest, tiniest detail that tells you everything about a person. So let's zoom in on a very particular habit of our enigmatic artist. This unique personal quirk, this little tell, is known as an idiosyncrasy. An idiosyncrasy is just a little mode of behavior that's totally peculiar to one person. And we've just spotted our artists. Whenever he was deep in thought, planning his next move, he had this one little idiosyncrasy. He would tap his fingers on the table. It was rhythmic, almost silent. A tiny detail, but so revealing. And now, we've reached the climax. The acrimonious debate is finally over. The votes are in. Our enigmatic artist has won. But his victory isn't the end of the story. No. What he does next is what really defines everything. And it is all captured in our final, most powerful word: magnanimous. To be magnanimous is to be incredibly generous and forgiving, especially to a rival you've just beaten. And here's the final twist. After that incredibly bitter fight, our artist does the absolute last thing anyone expects. In a truly magnanimous gesture, he walks directly over to the politician, extends his hand, and congratulates him on a well-fought battle. So there you have it, a full story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, all built using just 6 words. Let's take a quick look back at the toolkit we just put together. Our story kicked off with that acrimonious debate between two totally disparate rivals. We zeroed in on the artist, this capricious enigma who had that funny little idiosyncrasy of tapping his fingers. And the whole thing ended with a surprising, magnanimous show of generosity. You can see how each word was a building block for the next one. We've just shown you how these 6 words can build one narrative, but now they're yours.
They're part of your toolkit. So the only question left is this: what story will you tell? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.